Shooting rats at the city dump. I got to reminiscing the other day about how we as kids used to amuse ourselves. You see, in those days there was no Nintendo or computers, nor was there even TV until I was somewhat older. But we small-town kids somehow managed to entertain ourselves with a pickup game of baseball in the old vacant lot, or an occasional Saturday matinee double feature at the movies, most of which were B-westerns, as I recall. Of course, there was the badly dog-eared girly magazine, which was heavily perused behind the coal shed, and then there was the pool room. Now, I don't know about you, but my mama and daddy did not approve of my going to the pool room, and they let me know that in no uncertain terms. Of course, this only incited me to get down there as quickly as possible to find out what it was that I wasn't supposed to know about. It didn't take long, however, for me to learn that pool rooms are pretty much the same no matter where you go. They're dark, smoky, they smell, and the guys standing around the tables look like they haven't eaten in a week or bathed in 2. They usually have a cigarette hanging out of the corner of their mouth and a big tattoo on their shoulder. I quickly learned, after losing both money and self-esteem at the hands of these billiard hall natives, that not all the advice I got from Mom and Dad was necessarily bad. But I digress, because what I really wanted to tell you about was just about the favorite pastime of every boy in town, including my best friend Bobby and me: shooting rats at the city dump. Now, you may think that if we considered shooting rats at a smelly old garbage dump sport, then we must have had entirely too much time on our hands and not enough gray matter between our ears. But, as I already mentioned, it was a small town, and who's to deny the satisfaction of sending a few rodents to vermin Valhalla? Now, you see, in those days, there were no landfills. Why, there weren't even any sanitation engineers. Just garbage men who backed their trucks to the edge of a steep hillside on the north end of town and let her go. Well, as you might imagine, it was not long before an open dump like this became heavily populated with rats of every size and description. Whoever might in any way decrease that population was considered to be performing a valuable public service. And so it was about dusk on a late summer afternoon when Bobby and I approached these hunting grounds, guns drawn, eager with anticipation. It wasn't long before Bobby spotted a big brown one near the bottom of the hill, took careful aim, and fired. Now, considering Bobby's prowess with a firearm, he didn't do too badly, kicking up some garbage about 6 inches away from the rat. Normally that startled rat would have skittered under some garbage, and that would have been the last we saw of him. But on this day, for some inexplicable reason, that rat began to climb up the hill, right over the garbage, directly toward us. Bobby, somehow sensing that through divine intervention he'd been given another opportunity to dispatch that rodent, began firing his little semi-automatic .22 in a most excited manner. Cans were flying and garbage was splatting, but that rat, totally undeterred, kept climbing right at us. The closer it came, the faster Bobby fired, until by the time that varmint reached the top of the hill where we were standing, Bobby's little .22 sounded more like an M16 on full automatic. Undaunted, that pesky rodent ran right between us, with puffs of dirt and dust flying from Bobby's wildly escalating fusillade. Now you can imagine that since we were standing only about 4 or 5 feet apart, the rat running directly between us, and Bobby spraying lead at it all the way, there were bullets entering the earth only inches away from my number 9 black and white canvas PF Flyers. Needless to say, I began a tap dance so fast and so high as to be a contender for the Guinness Book of World Records, all the while shouting at the top of my voice for Bobby to stop firing and hoping against hope that either the rat would stop running or Bobby would quit firing so that I could stop dancing. Well, it didn't, and he didn't, and so neither did I. But at last the rat crossed between us, ran across a small dirt road, and neared some tall weeds. At that point, there was a telltale click, click, click from Bobby's gun. Bobby was out of ammo. The rat, totally unscathed I might add, jumped into the weeds and disappeared. There was an ominous silence. Bobby looked at me. His eyes grew large, his mouth dropped open, and he stammered, "Oh, my God, Steve," to which I replied, "Well, it's about time you came to your senses and realized that you darn near shot my foot off." "No," he said, "you don't understand. If it ever gets out that I emptied an entire magazine and didn't hit a single rat, I'll be the laughingstock of Round County." Now, seeing as how the lower extremities of my body had almost suffered calamitous penetration from flying projectiles, I was more than a bit miffed with his reply. "Bobby," I said, "you son of a gun." Now, in the interest of accuracy, son of a gun was not the exact phrase that I used, but it is close and will perhaps suffice in mixed company. So I said, "Bobby, you son of a gun, you mean to tell me that your supposed reputation as a marksman is more important than whether I get shot in the foot?" Bobby sort of rolled his eyes as if it should be obvious and said, "Aw, heck, Steve, people get shot in the foot all the time." Now, for all I know, that rat may still be out there somewhere, intimidating would-be marksmen with its irascible and unpredictable behavior. One thing is for sure, however, that was the last time I ever went to the dump to shoot rats with Bobby.